You are refreshed. Now what? You've been talking to one another, haven't you? Second row, yes.
Sorry. About 15 years ago, I was diagnosed with a skin disorder that when I was diagnosed, you know, it was difficult. And I went from anger to frustration to all the different levels. And I decided that I was gonna turn it into a blessing. And I created a company where I created a website and forums for people to come together with the same condition. And I feel like there's an answer to everything. And I know that there is. And I'm just wondering why it hasn't come to me yet.
Well, because it's sort of a cycle of it hasn't come, so it doesn't come, so it hasn't come, so it doesn't come, so it hasn't come, so it doesn't come. It really is a very good example of what is itis. And but the thing that trips most people up, now you won't be tripped up by this anymore, but the thing that trips most people up is that they don't know how it got there to begin with. In other words, it wasn't there, it wasn't there, right. It wasn't there, then it was there. Mm-hmm. So now it seems like a lot to ask for us to say, well, don't notice it now that it was there, because your logic says, well, I wasn't noticing it before it got there, so right. How did it get there? So why does noticing it keep it there? And what we like to say to doctors and scientists about all conditions that they call abnormal or unwanted is that when you get to the vibrational root, instead of looking for a cure, you look for the vibrational cause, because there always is one. Okay. Then you can figure out how to keep it from coming. Because, you see, it's like we were talking earlier, and this is a really good day to have this discussion with you about this, because we laid a really good foundation for it earlier when we were saying that unless you keep an opinion or a chronic or habitual vibration going, the manifestation of it can't continue, because all manifestations are indicators of vibrational relationships. So what we're saying is that once something gets started, because you were not aware of the vibrational discord that was at the root of it, then it's really understandable how observation then of the manifestation would keep it going. But it's not just observation of the manifestation that keeps it going, it's the earlier discord that you're keeping going to, that you didn't know what it was then, and so you don't know what it is now. And we can give you a simple response to it. In other words, you hear people say, oh, you're just too thin-skinned. And what they mean by that is you let things bother you. Well, we would never accuse someone of being too thin-skinned, because we want you to be thin-skinned. We want you to be hypersensitive to the way you feel, and then we want you to do something about feeling better. And as it turns out, there are so many things that surround you that you can't control, that if you are thin-skinned or hypersensitive and you believe that things have to change before you can feel better, and you can't get them to change so you can't feel better, that is a very good understanding of what's going on. So what's the solution? What does somebody do who is sensitive, and that's a good thing, who has things surrounding them, whether it's something happening in the Gulf of Mexico or something happening in Somalia or something happening in your own environment? What does somebody do who is aware of things, maybe even often observing things that make them uncomfortable when they observe them, but you have no power to change them? What do you do? How do you keep from that observation of something that bothers you, taking you into further symptoms of further things that bother you. And we say you just have to get really good at directing your thought. But the first step is understanding something. You see, something that is really evident in your vibration, and many would say it's a really good thing, and we would say it's something to think about. And that is, you care about how things are. And you care about how a lot of things are that you can't change. Well,
but I feel like I can change this.
Well,
that's what I feel. I just feel there's an answer to it.
You can change this, but what we're getting at, in other words, whenever someone has a manifestation, we always ask them, what does a manifestation feel like? And because within the emotional response that they give about what it feels like is a vibration that was present before that manifestation showed up as that indication of that vibration that was present before. So we're not saying to you that you can't change this. Of course you can. What we're saying is the reason that you've attracted this or manifested this is because there are a number of things that you observe on a pretty regular basis that you can't change, but that you care about,
right.
But so you keep giving your attention to them. And so it's sort of like, you know how when there's something that really matters, Esther was watching one of the people who is in the Gulf of Mexico giving an interview about what's happening with the oil that is beginning to wash into the marsh. And as Esther was watching him, she turned it off because she said, I don't want to watch this man's head explode. It looked like he was about to explode because his frustration and his anger were about something that he can't fix were so intense that it just looked like he was going to explode. You know how when you feel that way about things? Well, what happens is you do explode into symptoms. You do explode into diseases. You do explode. In other words, it's sort of like a manifestation of that inner struggle that's going on. And so we know it's not very satisfying to hear someone say, well, you've just got to stop the inner struggle. But you just got to stop the inner struggle. That is what you have to do. Okay. And by stopping the inner struggle, and this is the part that most people don't know that you're really ready to hear. You do know this on many fronts. By stopping the inner struggle, we mean stop the battle. We mean that every battle against anything is really a battle against yourself because your inner being won't engage in the battle. So it really is about giving up those things that you feel passionately angry about.